Good evening. At this time, we're going to go ahead and get started with the regular commission meeting for Monday, September 16, 2024. If I can please have the city clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Here.
Commissioner Harriet.
Present.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Shimkus.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee. Here. Mayor Villa.
Here. This time, we're going to stand for the invocation and the pledge to the flag, led by Commissioner Shimkus, along with the honoring of a veteran.
We'd have a moment of silence. Thank you.
This time, we're going to go ahead and enter into public forum on items not on the agenda.
Nancy Lemke, please.
Just make sure the button is pressed.
In front of the microphone on base. It'll be right here.
On the base of the microphone.
There you go.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Nancy Lemke. I live at 1400 DeGarmo Terrace, Deltona, Florida. Tonight I've got a few problems on DeGarmo Terrace and Lamplighter. As you know, it has been raining a lot. All the people on DeGarmo Terrace have water in their driveway almost to their house. The only way we can get our mail is go in the car and go out and drive out on the highway or the road and pick up our mail. I'd like to know if you are going to do anything about this. It's been like this for over a year. And we've had people come out, and these big engineers and everything, and Mrs. Gould, oops, you've been there. You never did nothing about this. It's a swamp. It really is. A lot of the people are putting their cars on the road. I'm so worried that if we have a ambulance or another vehicle down there, we're not going to be able to get one down there because it's so narrow. And another thing, right now we got bugs, pollywogs, mosquitoes, and we are afraid of those mosquitoes. They've got to be sprayed. We can't mow our lawn. It's just too saturated with water. You've got to find some way to get rid of this water. All the drains, I don't know what all the drains are. We can't find drains. And if there are drains, they're full. They should be cleaned out or whatever. I think that's about it. But I would appreciate it if somebody would start doing something about this water on our roads. It's awful. The people that deliver all these Amazons and all that, they are just driving all over the place. It's all rutted up. It's all muddy. Muddy. And they're driving on our lawns also. So I know very well you would not put up with that, any of you up there. I know you wouldn't. I'd appreciate it if something would be done at least in the next 2 weeks. Get this done. Thank you.
Ma'am, if you would be so kind as to leave your address again with the clerk, because I know that this has been an ongoing issue and they have drug out the dishes. Okay, thank
has
you.
it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Lauren King, please.
Second. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and staff, and the public. My name is Lauren King, former Commissioner, District 1, past Commander of the American Legion, Post 255 here in Deltona. I'm currently the chaplain for Post 255 and the chairman for the Hometown Heroes Banner Program. I'd like to share some of the activities and events, updating you on what we're doing at Sergeant David G. Leatherwood, Post 255, for our veterans, their families, and the community at large. American Legion's motto is for God and country, and all of our programs, activities, and events are planned and executed in accordance with the 4 pillars of the American Legion. They are Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, Children and Youth, Americanism, and National Security. The American Legion was founded in 1919 as a veteran service organization to care for the widows and orphans of veterans killed in action and those disabled during World War I. Today, this is still the priority of our Post 255. Some of the things that we're doing: our VA hospital visitation program. We currently have people there doing that on a monthly basis. Through Share the Ride program, we donate our time and our personal funds to give rides to our veterans to hospitals and doctor's appointments when they need to go. Our post officer assists in veterans with the how-tos of filing compensation claims with the VA. We assist veterans in distress through our Florida-based Project Vet Relief Program, helping them with living expenses, medical issues, and transitioning from military to civilian life. Our post is actively involved in the Children and Youth Program with such activities as the Special Olympics, the Youth Transplant Association, Junior Shooting Sports Program for ages 10 through graduation from high school, National Education Week. Over the past 5 years, we have donated over $1,000 to school supplies at Galaxy Middle, Friendship Elementary, and Residing Hope Children's Home. We've given over $6,000 in scholarship funds to local students through the Tara Brown Scholarship Foundation and raising funds for a National Legacy Scholarship Fund, sending students of deceased or 50% disabled veterans to college. On our Americanism programs, we're involved in blood donations. We're actively involved in the junior ROTC programs at Deltona High School and Pine Ridge High School. Wreaths Across America, national program which places wreaths on veterans' graves during the Christmas season. Post 255 has been responsible for raising the funds to place approximately 2/3 of all the wreaths at Deltona Memorial Gardens over the past 5 years. Law and Order luncheons and ceremonies scheduled for this April. We will be recognizing our law and order, our law officer, firefighter, EMT, paramedics of the year, and this year we're going to add the 911 dispatcher off of the year. For chaplain ceremony is a service that comes up in February, and that again is scheduled for the first Saturday evening, and it is in remembrance of the 4 chaplains' sacrifice and their love for God and their fellow man aboard the USAT Dorchester.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to
We have to continue, Commissioner Harriet. That was a request that the city manager made, that we continue. So that way we give everyone equal time.
I think this is an exception.
Yeah, this is a service organization for residents. I'd like to see this continue.
Go ahead, Commissioner King.
Thank you. Post members are active in the VCEP, Veterans Community Educational Partnership, maintaining the grounds and the Deltona Veterans Memorial Park and Museum, and maintaining the museum during open hours Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 4 p.m. We also look forward to revitalizing the school field trip programs for our elementary and second middle schools on Fridays. With over 7,500 veterans living in Deltona, Post 255 has initiated the Hometown Heroes banner program. With the assistance of the city, we hope to install and remove these banners at the appropriate times during the year, and all of our citizens will be able to recognize and honor those local men and women who have served honorably in the military. National security has always been a concern of the American Legion and has continued to be, and we've continued to be involved in informing concerned issues. Most posts receive weekly updates concerning national security, and our state and national Legion officials and lobbyists are advising and influencing our state and national elected officials concerning our national security. Post 255 is the only active Veterans Service 501c19 organization in Deltona. Our purpose is to teach by example a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation. I thank you for your attention, your time, and your interest in Sergeant David G. Ledgerwood, American Legion Post 255, Deltona. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew Shaw, please.
Right. Good evening, commissioners. How you doing? City manager. First, I want to say thank you for approving the windscreen on the pickleball courts, Harrison Saxon. They look great, so you know that. So I want to thank you guys for that. I know Mark Manning as well, too. Thank you. Appreciate that. But just want to take a couple minutes here. Want to talk about the actual last commission meeting. I would say it's very disappointing, to watch that. And you're probably going to get a little bit of that, sentiment, tonight. And I want to address the commission directly because folks that know me, and maybe some of you don't, know that I'm a pretty straight shooter. Whether I know you really well or not, I'm going to tell you the truth. And, we have commissioners that are abusing badge access and making a toxic work environment. And when that happens, if you abuse something, it should be revoked, to be honest with you. And the city manager, he's here to do a job. And we really need to make sure he does that job. And I know it's been a while since we've had one. And, if you're going to hold him to a certain level, you need to hold yourself to a standard as well. Or obviously, we're going to have to hold you to a standard, right? So if you can rename my name, my name is going to be accountability. So just call me accountability, because just like he needs accountability, everybody needs accountability, right? In your life and what you're doing, because I think that's very important, right? When you look at U.S. history, there are checks and balances. No one person has absolute power, and that's why this great nation was built how it was, because one person doesn't have all the power. It takes multiple people to get something done. So this is for each and every one of you: Commissioner Harriet, Commissioner Simkus, Vice Mayor Jody Lee, Mayor Villa, Commissioner Villa Vasquez, Commissioner McCool, Commissioner Colwell. It's time to tighten up, right? Like I said, you're expecting a lot out of him, but we, your constituents, are expecting a lot out of you as well. The future of Deltona is in your hands, so please focus at the task at hand. I believe each and every one of you got into office because you wanted to help the community. I don't doubt that at all. I believe 100% that you have. But sometimes ego gets in the way. Pride gets in the way. And is your ego and pride more important than what needs to happen in this city? To be honest, a lot of people look at Deltona as the largest city in Volusia County, and it's a laughingstock because of what happens, and there's no unity. Deltona can be the #1 city in Volusia County. It really can be, right? So I think we need to think about that and how can we work to get there versus infighting against each other. Find the positives, find the things that you do know about each other that you can work together, because I've talked to several of you and it's interesting that a lot of you have similar thoughts and ideas about things, but because you're not talking to each other, you don't know that, right? So I think it's time to work together and take the time to get to know each other. I know there might be some bad blood and everything as well, but what is it going to take for the city? Put aside your differences and work together for the future, because you have children counting on you. You have the people of this city counting on you. And I think it's very important to realize that it's bigger than you, it's bigger than your ego. So again, thank you for your time. I do think you guys are awesome. You guys are doing some great things, but at the same time, folks need to kind of step up, and sometimes you need to be checked, just like anything, all right? So appreciate your time, City Manager. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful day. God bless.
Michelle Avila, please.
Good evening. My name's Michelle Avila, and I live at 2122 Old Train Road. I'm here in regards to a stormwater drain that runs adjacent to our property. It was, I'm just going to read this because I don't want to miss anything. So the stormwater drain is adjacent to our property. The city stormwater drain discharges water into the swale that runs north and south along Old Train Road. The swale then allows the water to flow under Old Train Road at the Elkham intersection and empties into Deep Creek, thus allowing an exit strategy for the city's water into the Deep Creek Basin. And I know that's important because Deltona is located in the Lake Teresa closed basin. And we're only one of 2 locations that water is actually escaping the city of Deltona. The problem is that the swale cannot support the city drainage and our community drainage simultaneously. The swale has not been improved or maintained by the city. The homeowners along Old Train Road have borne this responsibility. Since Hurricane Ian, the problem has been exacerbated, and the city regularly floods our street and our driveway during the heavy rains. The stormwater drain was added, however, the swale was never enlarged or improved to accommodate the additional water flowing from the city into our swale out into Deep Creek. As of today, the city has performed no maintenance to the swale, and the storm drain was actually created in 2012. Recently, I contacted the Stormwater Division and spoke to a Mr. Steve LeMay regarding the flooding and the storm drain's point of entry. We were told by the Stormwater Division that it could not assist us with our erosion concerns, which are created due to the overflow at the stormwater drain point of entry, as well as at our culvert, which is the first culvert in the chain of culverts leading out of Old Train Road, underneath Old Train Road, and out to Deep Creek. However, since we're the first culvert, when we get that deluge of water coming on us, our culvert can only accommodate so much water before it floods over our street and over our driveway. The Stormwater Division stated that the swale is private property and therefore the city doesn't bear any responsibility, which for me raises the question of why the city is dumping public water into my private swale. And I'm not against it because I know that I'm the exit strategy to get the water out of Deltona. However, I am very concerned about I'm bearing the fiscal responsibility of an entire city right now based on the stormwater. I think that's pretty unfair. I would like the city to recognize that the swale is not crafted to move the millions of gallons of the city and our community water, because it's our community water that the swale was actually engineered for in the 80s to move. Although we live outside the city of Deltona's city limits, I would like for our community to be included in this hydrological survey that I've heard about. I don't know if it's ongoing, but we need to be incorporated in that, because if we're your exit strategy, you can't just dump your water into our private swale and then expect us to bear the brunt of that responsibility whenever it's the entire city that we're trying to drain, and I respect that. Anyways, thank you for your time and consideration, and I appreciate any thoughts that you guys may have on this in the future, and they have my contact information. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Christian O'Brien, please.
Green light is on. Good evening, City Commissioner, City Manager, everyone from Deltona. I wanted to address the 9/9 meeting with the economic development firm and also the scholarship. So I think the solution was actually right there. I think our future city economic development director should be tasked with finding a private sponsor for the scholarship and give that person some time to see if that can come to fruition. The job description for the economic development director had 6 bullet points of essential functions. And they were a little broad, and some of those deliverables could be hard to manage and measure. So as a resident, what I would like to do is expound a little bit upon what I would like to see from the economic development director. Really 2 points of strategy for different approaches, one with big commercial industrial, and then also for small business. So when it comes to big commercial industrial, that's essentially bullet points 1, 3, and 5 of the job description. And I really think we should start to target tomorrow's next big company. So, and specifically something that does like drop shipping or business to consumer. So something like Cost Plus Drugs would be a perfect fit for the city of Deltona. That's Mark Cuban's company. Or something like a Chewy or like a Farmer's Dog or like an Omaha Steaks, like a big company that does that light industrial, that does mostly shipping out all over the country, would be a giant add to Deltona. Not only the revenue, but also the taxes. Semiconductor manufacturers, farmer, DOD, space, because we're on the Space Coast. Essentially, Deltona needs more STEM white-collar jobs. So that leaves small business. So as we talked about last week, it's really filling the available product. So what this economic development director should do is, that would be bullet point number 2, a love triangle of small commercial real estate realtors, managing that relationship to help identify openings around Deltona, and then working with Deltona and Volusia SBA lenders to find out what those businesses and banks want in their portfolio, and then finding those small entrepreneurs who can actually deliver those goods. SCORE, great example would be like liaising with SCORE. That would be a great resource. If we don't have those skilled entrepreneurs, that essentially, touches upon a little bit of the job description with the essential duties. And so that's where the economic development director could attend various conferences and conventions, trade shows, things like that, develop those relationships, and hopefully attract those people to Deltona. And we could attend those both as a vendor and then also as an attendant, just a participant. Now, there's been a lot of talk in Deltona about big chains coming here, and we all know that Elon Musk's worker robots are going to replace humans in the big chains first. So I think we should really focus on the mom and pop restaurants, and specifically those who have awesome food trucks and who want to expand out to brick and mortar. They already have the receipts, they already have the paper trail, and they have the ROI to back up SBA 7 approval. I'd also like to see maybe like a Henry's Depot here for Deltona. And then lastly, I noticed in the budget there was some funding for cell phones and things like that. The economic development director should also actually get a cell phone as well. And then if you can, give him the cheapest car in the lot. Basically have him go around town, cultivating those relationships, hopefully maybe doing some city events that would foster relationships as well. And hopefully bring about some of those necessary businesses. So I think that person teaming up with the Volusia Economic Development, whatever, would be, I think, a good bonus. So hopefully these are some good insights into what you guys are looking for, and hopefully we can bring about the right person to do the job. Thank you.
Courtney Cross-Burgos, please.
Good evening, Courtney Cross-Burgos, Red Mulberry, Deltona. First of all, I want to thank Doc for answering my many, many emails over the past week about the budget and figures. He did, one of the last emails he sent me, he explained to me that I need to be blind carbon copying all the the commissioners so that it doesn't violate sunshine, and that he's going to discuss that more in Deltona University, which I start tomorrow. But I think that it's important as residents that we know this, because I've been sending emails like this for months, as you know, and nobody wants it. Well, Davidson did mention it at one point about the scholarship, but nobody once has told me, well, you're sending emails the wrong way, send it this way or that way, and it gets really disheartening when you send email after email after email and you don't hear anything back. It's like you're banging your head against the wall. And, you know, I do sometimes talk to Davison and Dana and Jody Lee and the mayor. Steve is always quiet. He's the smart one, never says anything to get himself in trouble. Maritza never answers me, yet again, I'll say it out loud, and I am in her district. But anyway, there's just something, again, about communication. You know, this is something that we need to be more communicative about in our society, in our city, that let these people know. Just like somebody came up with the idea of rounding up on the water bill to pay for the scholarship. I asked Dana about it. She explained to me that that's earmarked already for something else, and there isn't very much money collected. Well, hello, I didn't know anything about it. I've lived here 9 years in this city. You know, I've been in Volusia County 30, but 9 years in this city. I've never heard anything about rounding up to help people pay their water bills when they're elderly or without funds. How do we find out about these things? I don't understand. There's lots of programs available, evidently, and lots of things that we could help. I mean, I'd be willing to round up. What the heck? If I knew about it, how do I do it? Somebody tell me, how can I do that? Also, things like the parks. The doc has in the budget, and I know we're doing the budget, you know, $70,000 for summer program. But we have the Boys and Girls Club for $5 a year. We have that one I see on Facebook all the time, $80 or $90, which is a good amount. I mean, it's way cheaper than a babysitter, but may not be affordable for people with multiple children. We have the YMCA. A friend of mine says she has a friend of hers that does it in the high schools. I mean, we seem to have all these programs already. Are we utilizing them? Before we add more money and open more things, can we get the word out about all these programs? There's just lots and lots and lots of things that are good about Deltona that we don't know about. So can we have a PIO for us? Because we need to know this information. I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Okay. I asked on Facebook and I did not get an answer, and I asked, no, I don't think I did email, but the Halifax thing, it says 40,000 contract, but it says 55 on the budget. Team Volusia from
Ms. Cross, that's part of the budget. You can bring that up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wanted to say, Mr. Shaw, I'm with you on everybody working together. And the mosquito thing, as one more thing that we don't know about, evidently, I learned in the Beacon, there are mosquito-eating fish that you can apply for to help with the mosquitoes. How come we don't know that? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, guys, have a good evening.
Terry Ellis, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to... There we go. Usually I don't do that, but okay, here we go. So I am here to ask that we all try something different. A substantial historical figure said it is common sense to try a method, and if it fails, admit it frankly and try another one. But above all, try something. And you know who that person was? It was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Times are tough for all of us. High grocery prices, housing prices, insurance costs, utility costs, interest rates, job salaries not keeping up with inflation. The pressure is enormous, and that pressure, unfortunately, it trickles down. You see it resulting in social media wars and residents debating a scholarship fund and residents combing through the budget with a fine-tooth comb. People debating and questioning everything, but that's because everything matters. Every dollar matters. Every decision that you folks make matters. So yes, everything is going to be examined and debated and questioned. But at home, we're all looking at our bills and expenses, trying to figure out what we can do different. What programs can I qualify for? Where can I save money? Whether or not I'm going to shop at Publix or Aldi's. So I ask, if we're looking at all these things at home and trying to figure out how to do things differently, don't you think that all of us should be asking the same thing from our government? Do something different. So these folks out here, they're talking about, is there another way to do things? Where can we economize and save money? Is there a way to fund a need, a grant, a foundation, a revenue stream that we haven't looked at? Do we really need it this year? Now, I know that for those of you that sit up there, sometimes it's a little tough, and unfortunately, you bear the public's frustration and anger because federal, state, and county government just doesn't always seem available to average residents unless you're in someone's inner circle. So that leaves you, the folks that we shop with, see at the park, we go to church with, we have meetings with. You're the ones that are available to the residents. And I know sometimes, the residents' pain is a little tough. There's a lot of emotion and anger, and I'll admit that I cringe sometimes. But residents debating and questioning is not a terrible thing. I'm asking that you lean into the idea of trying something different. Don't lose sight of the fact that the requests to try something different and all these wonderful suggestions that people come up with at this mic, please lean into that and understand that it's not disrespectful, it's not horrible, it's actually responsible. As adults, we're all questioning this. It is responsible. As a project manager, I can tell you that there's been a few times when I've done some deep dives into various problems, and sometimes the end result is, nope, this is the best that we can do. But the exercise itself of looking at something different and looking to see if we can figure out something is always for the good. It's always made the organization or a process stronger. So to sum it up, I'm asking you to make time to look deeper into some of these things. Again, I've said this so many times at the mic. We have some really good suggestions. We have to do something with this information. Be objective and open. Everyone just wants to know that whatever it is that's on the table has been researched, that we've looked at the possibilities and discussed the pros and cons. We've looked at the data, and maybe we found another way. Maybe the answer is, nope, that's the best that we can do. But in the end, whatever that decision is or that direction is, at least we will have answers and be comfortable that those things have been looked at. Thank you.
Brandy White, please.
Brandy White, Deltona. I also want to touch on Deep Creek. I was disappointed to hear somebody is here still mentioning that it's overgrown. I had a meeting over 2 years ago about this. I provided pictures. We went on the internet. We did map overlays. We brought about some concerns about some changed elevation that fell on the county to investigate. I haven't heard anything more on what happened from that. And now we're hearing more problems. Moonstone, Laredo, Riverhead, Dorchester, we talked about all those 2 years ago, but we're still seeing some of the same issues. None of that area, I believe, Mayor, I sat with you at one point, and I showed you where the drainage canals for Deep Creek was not maintained. It actually overgrew so much that it almost looked more like a grassy field instead of a drainage. I did see a bid out for a Croton project, Croton Road. I'm not sure what that's entailing, and why it even mentioned sewer, I'm not sure. But if we could maybe hear a little bit more about that project, because it did mention it was for drainage. That area was hit pretty hard in District 1. Could we get an update on what we found out about the elevation change down behind Laredo, where Moonstone kind of comes around the corner? You'll have Moonstone right here. Laredo takes a corner. It's the property back behind there. We kind of talked about that. Like I said, we did map overlays. You could see the elevation change. In fact, some of the mapping even showed the excavators in the picture. And I'm just curious, 2 years later, that's hard for residents to swallow on that one. Moving forward, I do want to say thank you for the pickleball. It was a quick turnaround from the request, so that was positive to see. One thing I do want to touch on is the flow of how the government works, right? Because we're hearing a lot about we didn't know this, we didn't know that. I did watch the end of the last meeting, and I feel like there's still some confusion on what people's roles are in the government here in Deltona. So I did post the little flow chart, but I'll go through it here again, where the residents sit up top, right? Because ultimately we are the stakeholders, if you want to look at it like a business, right? It's our money that's creating the city and making it function. Who we get to direct is you guys, right? So what I'm really disappointed at is I can count no less than a dozen times at the last meeting that the words out of you guys' mouth wasn't, I need to protect the residents. It was, I need to protect the city. I need to do what's right for the city, not I need to do what's right for the residents. See, below you are the people who protect the city. That's not your job. Your job is to protect us, to hear us, answer our questions, listen to the directions we're giving on how we want our city to move forward. That's your job. It is not to protect the city. His job's to protect the city. That seat's to protect the city. They're for protecting the city. They do a great job at protecting the city, providing you guys information on what the city needs. Your job is us, not the city. Lastly, if you're in District 1, Sunday, October 6th, from 1:30 to 4:30 here at Saxon Park, you'll be receiving an invitation. There is a District 1 meet and greet. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Donovan Begbar, please. Donovan. Donovan. Can't read it.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm back up here to talk to you guys again. There's many complaints about the scholarship and all that stuff. Now, I have some issues with it, but the thing is, we got to take care of our kids, all right? But if people don't want to use their taxpayer dollars to have a $50,000 scholarship for numerous kids, you have to listen to that. So let's say if I disagree with the scholarship fund, okay? How can I go about coming up with an idea to solve that problem? One, how about, creating a thing on a water bill, so if someone owes $20.50, they can round that up to $21, and that goes to the scholarship. But the problem is there's a lack of communication here at the city. You guys on the commission do not talk to each other. That's why the problem is what you guys got going on is going on, because you don't talk to each other. The city, the commission, I'm sure that there's problems there too. So you need to if you come up with something like that, you need to communicate that with us as the citizens, so we can donate to that fund, and they'll probably get more than $50,000. I don't know, maybe less, but it's not taxpayer dollars. It's all voluntary from the citizens of the city, and it's very easy to do. All right. The perception of y'all's attitude for the citizens out here is very poor. It's comical. They laugh at you because they're laughing at you because of your attitude towards each other. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or non-partisan, we don't care. We do not care. We want you to work together to benefit us, okay? We don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, okay? That's part of the lack of communication. A couple of meetings ago, so I think it was on September 4th, a big heyday about, the key to the city to a principal that deserved it. Lack of communication. I know you guys have cell phones that you could text message everybody, hey, this is going on, if you can come. Really simple. I don't care if you like each other or not. It's what's best for the city. And it's equal communication with everybody, so everybody's on the same page. And if you're doing this because you don't like this person, I don't care. We elected you in. It's your job to do the right thing, okay? City manager access to you guys. There's a reason probably from him. I worked in the government before, and it's all about perception, okay? You might not aim to be intimidating, and you might not, put it out there, but the message that will be received by the employee could be that they're intimidated, like, oh shoot, if I don't do what you're wanting to do or whatnot, I could lose my job. And the city manager's probably protecting them from that, and that is a sign of a good leader. Now, I'm not saying that the city manager is a good leader because I don't know him, and he's still out there, but there needs to be transparency in the job that he does. And if he doesn't communicate with you, you hold him responsible, okay? If he's hiding and sliding and taking the right hand, looking over here and doing something on the left, he needs to be held accountable for that. And the attitude on September 4th between the two people that are up there, totally unprofessional. We expect better performance from you guys with each other, whether you like each other or not. I don't care. And everything's about perception. If you have your veteran status and don't pay taxes, you rate that. But don't put it out there because people are going to think that you don't care because you're not paying taxes.
Kathy Gallagher, please.
Hi, I'll be quick. Every meeting, it seems like there's somebody up here asking you, begging you, pleading with you, imploring with you to come up with a straightforward budget, no nonsense budget, get the fluff out. We need.
Ma'am, if your comments about the budget, it has to wait till we're on that line item.
I wasn't going to reference any individual dollars, just generalization. Is that okay or no? Just that it needs to be hammered in. We need transparency and accountability in all of our city's businesses, dealings, and finances. And I think I'm just going to, reiterate what some of Terry's words and what she said was that, every dollar counts. Sharpen the pencils. Make it right. Do this for us. We need it. This economy is horrible. So, just do the right thing. Thanks.
Richard Bellich, please.
Does that mean Joyce? I was going to do with something else, but there's something here that happened tonight that bothered me. Mr. Lauren King, one of our most distinguished citizens, he's up here. He's done nothing good for the city. And his 4 minutes is up, and the mayor wants to cut him off. He's got to say something. She's got to say something. Where is your class? You got no class? Let the guy speak. Give him an extra 2 minutes. Where you going? Come on. Smarten up, huh? Now, I'm seeing about the $2.5 million to fix this building.
Mr. Bellick, if it's about the budget, you're going to have to wait till the budget comes up.
All right, let's put it under the fraud title, okay? How's that? How's that, dude?
Mr. Bellick,
listen, don't interrupt me with your nonsense.
Mr. Bellick, there are not going to be any personal attacks today.
You're a welfare recipient. Shut up.
Bellick,
you get your food for nothing. These people got to work.
Mr. Bellick, there's no personal attacks.
Mr. Bellick,
there's no personal attacks.
Listen to me. You're a petty thief. You're robbing the state for food money.
Mr. Bellick, you are out of order.
Sure,
Mr. Bellick,
yeah,
you're out of order.
That's right. Don't interrupt people like that.
Mr.
Give me
Bellick,
an extra 2 minutes, you moron.
Can you please?
Shut up.
David Sosa, please.
All right, Dave Sosa. First of all, Ms. Burgos, it's not a sunshine violation to email all your commissioners in one email. That is up to you to do. It's up to them to respond to you individually, so you don't have to do extra work to accommodate them. If they don't respond to you, it's because they don't want to. Okay? So you don't have to jump through extra hoops to get an answer from them. Okay? That's disgusting. Okay. Next, I'd like to talk about the senior prom, senior dance. I've been hosting it for the last few years, and it's come to my attention, a citizen brought it up, it was discussed at the last commission meeting about partnering with the city. Okay? I know I've spoken to a couple commissioners, and my desire is to keep it private. Okay? Because this is where it started. I'll give you a little background. About 3 years ago, when I was a commissioner, I tried to do something for the senior citizens. I had a senior citizen reach out to me and say, hey, what can we do for our senior citizens besides going to the COA? I said, let's sit down and talk about it. We came up with the senior dance / senior prom. I went to the city manager at the time said it was a great idea. Due to the political climate at the time, it was nixed. So, out of my funding, along with another associate that helped, we continued with the senior prom. That year, we had about 120 of our residents attend. Pretty good turnout for the first event, minimal advertising. Our last event, we had 291 senior citizens come to that event. Now, that event is free of charge to our senior citizens. There's a dance floor, there's a cash bar, we provide food, we have local businesses that donate their time, their energy, and I cover the cost of the center. Okay? So at this point, I want to go ahead and just keep it a private event. A couple of commissioners I talked to, I gave you my reasoning why. Basically it was, hey, we'll partner this year and we'll take it over next year. Mayor, you know what happens when the city takes over anything. Okay? Next Saturday, or this Saturday coming, the 21st, I'm going to be hosting a women's self-defense class. It's going to be at 1200 Deltona Boulevard, Deltona Martial Arts Center. It's from 10:30 a.m. till noon, so any of you women that would like to get some self-defense tips, I will be holding that seminar. It's $15. It's for teens and adults. And if you need any information on it, you can reach out to me at 321-299-4797. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about policies and procedures. The commission up there has a set of policies and procedures that you have to follow, correct? Okay. In 2023, your policies and procedures state that the charter officers, which would be the city manager, the city attorney, need to be evaluated by the end of July. Has to be on the docket by July. They have to be evaluated. I did a public records request for 2023 for our city's attorney's evaluation. You know what I got? Nothing. Oh, the excuse I got from the commission, well, she's only really been there 6 months. She's been here longer than anybody in this building. So that was a bogus excuse. Anyways, I did another public records request for 2024, and guess what? You still have yet to evaluate her. Is there any reason why you do not evaluate the city manager and the city attorney? I don't care if they're there 1 day, 30 days, or a year, they need an evaluation. Thank you.
That ends public comment.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead into public hearing resolution number 2024-50, adopting the final millage rate levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2024-2025. Please have Ms. Robin come up.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'll just read into record the current millage rate as presented at the last meeting and the requirements of that millage rate. And then I can go from there with the presentation. It's a public hearing. Consider the comments and questions, again, as presented by the final millage rate and the final budget, annual budget, for the upcoming fiscal year 2024-2025.
I hate to interrupt you, Ms. Robin. Is your microphone on? It's a light green?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Is that better if I step right on top
Yes,
of it?
please.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'll read that again just so that it's clear. So it's a public hearing to hear and consider the comments and questions regarding the city's final millage rate and final annual budget for the coming fiscal year 2024-2025. The city of Deltona may, according to your motion, propose a millage rate of 7.0000 mils. The millage rate reflects a 3.35% increase from the rollback rate of 6.7730 mils. Again, according to your motion, I can change that accordingly. And we have a presentation. If we can have the presentation, and that'll discuss the budget as I go through that.
Thank you.
So, I think they have that from the back, right? City Clerk is the presentation.
He's coming. He's coming.
Thank you, sorry. Still new, haven't been down here, so my apologies. This is my fault. The budget one.
This is
That's not mine. As far as I know, they emailed to you. Okay. I'll just go over the data if I may, so I don't see it on here. So Deltona, as presented at the last meeting, the Avalorm in 2016-17, the millage rate was 7.95. You, as a commission, have...
I'm sorry, Robin. Folks, we really need to be able to hear the speaker. Thank you. Go ahead, Robin.
Sorry. You have reduced the millage rate to 7.85, which that ran from 2017-18 to 2021-22. Again, I'm just repeating history, so I apologize, but it'll just take a moment. 2022-23, 7.65 mils. 2023-24, 7.35 mils. 2024-25, you reduced it to 7.0 mils. Again, this is all based on first reading. I understand that you're having your final hearing tonight. We looked at some data for you, and I'm going to just read through a few of these just to give you examples of the reduction in the millage rate effect to our homeowners. We looked at a house on Oldsmar Terrace, assessed value in 2023, because you do have to go back and look at the prior year, was $75,043. Exemptions of $50,000, which is normal tax exemptions. Taxable rate was $25,043. The millage rate at that time at 7.35 mils meant that property owner paid taxes of $184 and some change. In 2024, the assessed value was now $77,294, an increase of the assessed value of 3%. Tax exemptions of $50,000. Taxable rate value $27,294, 7 mils. The increase for that taxpayer is $6.99. Their total property tax was $191.06. So here, the prior year, the exemptions changed. And I just wanted to go over that because you will have a homeowner every now and then where they will see an increase. And I wanted to explain that there could be an increase. It will be rare when you had a millage rate decrease, but you could actually have an increase. The prior year, that homeowner had exemptions that changed, and their assessed values were basically higher by about $3,000 and some change. We had another home that sold last year on Paragon Street. The assessed value was $288,500. Taxable value of $288. It sold, so there's no taxable, no exemptions. Millage rate 7.35. That homeowner paid $2,120.52. The assessed value in 2024 is now $294,948. Again, sold, so it's recomputed by the property appraiser. So the increase there was 2.21%, not a full 3. The house sold when we called the property is sold for actually $220,000. So it's already assessed well above even the sell price at that point in time, or the market price. That homeowner for 7 mils will pay $56.28 less than it did last year. So that's a change in that one. Even though it went from a non-homesteaded property to a homesteaded property, it also went for a sale or market value at 220, which is definitely less than what the assessed values are. One other home I'll give you an example of on Ambry Drive, $178,564. The exemption's $50,000. The taxable value, $128,000. 7.35 mils. The taxable property for that was $944.95. In 2023, the house now is assessed at $183,000 with a 3% increase, which is allowed by the property appraiser, as you know. The $50,000 exemption. The taxable value is $133,000. At 7 mils, the property owner saved $7.51. So we went through several scenarios just to be able to show you, and again, we'll send that to you, I know, after the fact, but we did look at several situations in which the 7 mils, the effect of the 7 mils, the same as the effect of the 7.35, just to give an idea of why and what happens with the millage rate, with a reduction and an increase. I know there was some concern about if the value of the home increases or changes, how does that affect the millage rate? So I wanted to just go over that very quickly. I would just say that the budget presented to you is a process. You began this process back in January or February. We evolved through the process, and I'm sure there are some things in the budget that could be changed. But as we get to the final hearing, there are also state statute requirements, and part of reading the public notice was one of those state statute requirements. And at that point that we would, as we go through the process and we evolve and we bring to you changes, we again try to update everything. We put everything on the website this past week so that the citizens can see the entire detailed budget as well as some summary information. And we'll do that going forward, have that information available. So, City Manager?
So the request is the 7.0 commission. That's it.
All right, I'm going to read this. It says, justification of increase, the tentative millage rate is higher than the back rate of 6.7730. In order to cover increased operating costs, the floor is now open to hear public comments and to take any questions from the public. After public participation, we'll have a discussion with the commission.
Ron, please.
Hi, good evening. Hi, good evening.
If you can turn on your mic, please.
The green light's on.
Okay.
Okay. I'm new. I've been here for 2 years. Just listen to the woman before speak about the millage rate. I really don't understand what she was saying because my house is based on $365,000. My taxes are around $5,000. My proposed tax bill that I received, if you do the increase, is going to be around $6,000. So my point of coming this evening was to say, let's live within our means. I heard everybody here, everybody wants something, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do all of those things, but we should do them within the means of what we have, whether we're cutting the lawn or the grass. Maybe don't cut it as frequent, but to do something to live within our means. Because what she was just saying, I'm not going against what she's saying, the few dollars that she was saying that the taxes were going to go up, that's not true for me. It's in the hundreds or it's $1,000. I just got my insurance bill for my car. It went from $1,800 to $3,000. I have no tickets. So, and my home was just inspected inside and out because they want to raise the rates on that. And so I'm saying, where does this stop? We just have to figure out how to live within our means. And that's why I came tonight. I just want to say, it just got to stop or it just won't work. People are retired. And we don't have all this money to continue to move forward like this. And so I'm just here to plead, just leave it the way it is and live within our means. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Harriet, we really have to stick to this script. I get it. They have it there.
Well, it's just Ron Bennett.
Mayor, can I just clarify just a similar mistake? 1/3 of the tax bill actually is to the city. Another third is to the school district, another third is to the county. The city itself may reduce our millage and reduce our taxes by virtue of the reduced millage, but we don't have any say over the county and some other, and it may be correct, sir, I'm not arguing with it. Just sometimes people look at the overall tax bill and see an increase. It may be the other jurisdictions, not the city itself, but just, thank you.
Diane Anthony.
Okay, I haven't been up in a meeting in years. I used to come a lot, so I'm not sure, am I only allowed to talk about millage rate right now? Is that it?
Yes.
Because I had put down I wanted to talk about some other things, but I guess that's a different time. All right, so I also listened to what she said about how little this millage rate increase would increase taxes. And I want to say, first of all, those were incredibly low-priced houses, which most of us don't have. And I'm going to say I recently was out with my nephew trying to help him find a first-time home, and we didn't find anything below $200,000. In fact, he had to go above just to find a starter, well above $200,000 to find a starter home for him. And talking about homes that are valued at $75,000, that's completely different than most of us. And we have the highest millage rate. I used to live in Orlando. I know people that lives in Seminole County, Orange County, and their millage rate is much lower. And that is a good point that not all of it goes to the city, but when you are talking about the economy we are in right now, and my tax bill, and I'm looking at how much they add on for the other expenses you were talking about after the part that goes to the city. For example, the school districts, which I am a former school teacher. But when you're looking at, you go, okay, this much for the city, and then they are adding this huge amount of money on for those other things. The millage rate, anywhere we can save money is important. I'm a retired school teacher. So when you are talking about raising anything, when all the previous person that talked about all the other expenses that are going up, it does make a difference. And I feel like a woman that talked earlier tonight that said, first of all, listen to the residents, because it is important. And the other woman that said, let's do things differently, I totally applaud that, because we don't always have to keep raising. And I think I saw a post earlier today, which is why I am here, about something about $500,000 just for consultants. I think that we need to really look at the budget this year, given the economy, given the retirees that live here, and given the people, even when you're talking about young families looking for starter homes, and go, let's try and cut this to the minimum this year, so that people can afford things. He didn't even end up buying a house, it's so expensive. So, thank you for your time. I hope that you will listen to all of us.
Randy White, please.
Brandy White, Deltona. I'm going to stick with just the millage part, and I'll address the budget after that. But a lot of what we're hearing tonight is about transparency and accountability. So I want to start fresh with that, and I'm hoping that we can get some truthfulness tonight at the fact that 7.2 was never even existing to begin with. That was a bunch of nonsense fluff. Half of you were surprised when you seen it. So to keep calling a 7.0 a deep dig, and we brought it down to that, that's kind of a smack in our face and calling us ignorant. Okay? 7.2, half of y'all didn't even know that was in existence until the meeting, when we all seen it on the slideshow. Okay, so if we can just stop telling us that you have worked real hard and you brought it down to 7.0. It was always 7.0. From there, I also want to point out that I found it interesting, the hand-picked addresses used. It was also just brought up. That also did catch my attention. I hand-picked 35 myself, but it was more of just a random address pick. And out of my 30, I didn't find one property value that decreased, yet that's what we were sold here. I'm sure you guys remember being told that part of the problem was the values decreased, right? That was a bunch of crap. It never decreased our property values. Even the small set of teeny tiny house examples that were used increased. We just want some honesty when we're talking about this budget. We have expenses, we get everything's went up, including the expenses in our city. But be honest. That's what we get most frustrated about, is the lack of honesty. Let's just move the number here and change this one and nobody will notice. Well, we do. We do notice. It's really not going to matter anything we say here tonight, and that's the sad part, is because this has to be voted on tonight. So all I can ask is that next year, we have a more thorough process that starts maybe a bit earlier, because as you see, you have a lot of residents who want to deep dive into the budget and actually have discussions and come up with maybe some solutions for once. That's all I've got for this specific millage.
Richard Bellich, please.
How hard is it to realize there's a bad economy? You got a lot of retirees. Some of you up there pay no taxes at all. You know it and I know it. Come on, who you's kidding? Now, the people, don't you ever want to give them anything? You lie to them, they catch you, and next week you lie again. It's a continuous pattern. You sit up there, you look down, and you tell these people, you smile, and you tell these people, we're working for you, we're working for you. You're not working for them. You're working for the city. I think Brandy White brought it out before. You're here to protect the city, not the residents. You are the ones that said it, not me. I'm only copied it. Oh, one quick thing there, Mayor, before you out of your seat. You trying to give the key to the city to people, and they don't take it? What does that tell you? They don't want the key to the city. Can you imagine that? I mean, I got to sit up here, come up here. I got to watch a guy like this, Lauren King, get embarrassed. He gets cut off. He's been there for
Mr. Bellick,
years.
you're talking about the millage.
Yeah. Get back to your...
Mr. Bellick, please keep your topics to the millage.
I won't mention you take welfare checks anymore or get food grants and all that stuff. I ain't going to mention that. I'm
not going to allow any more disrespect.
I promise
Mr. Bellick, stick to the millage, please.
I just do. That's all I said. What do you have with the hammer? You got some with that hammer. What do you do when you're alone?
Mr. Bellick?
Okay.
If you're done, you can have a good day,
Let's get back to the poor people
Bellick.
now, the retired people. You've seen a retired school teacher. She's having a hard time. You just go around, you just evaluate the taxes on what? $75,000 houses, $60,000 houses? There's not many of them houses left in Deltona. To me, they're pigeon coops. I mean, is that what you do? You got people here in this audience, you can't shine their shoes when it comes to knowledge, facts. You can't. Yeah, and you sit up there and you're graveling that hammer, banging that hammer. What you actually do? In the last 2 years, what did you actually do?
Mr.
Nothing.
Bellick, are you going to talk
nothing.
about the millage? Have a good day, Mr.
You only
Bellick.
try to make a few people
Have a
lose
good
their
day, Mr.
jobs
Bellick.
out of spite. That's what kind of guy you are.
David Sosa, please.
All right. Mr. Bellick's always a hard act to follow. Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's talk millage rate. You've already approved a 25% increase in stormwater taxes, which was supposed to take care of $1 million that you had to transfer from our general fund last year. Okay? You raised and you approved our solid waste, I don't remember, was it 6.6 or 11%, something like that there, but you've already got 2 tax increases on the board. Okay, let's talk numbers. The city of Deltona had a taxable value, adjusted taxable value, of $4,991,788.66. Okay? That's a taxable value, which is an increase of $397,135,233, or an 8.64% increase. That's an adjusted taxable value. You've already got an increase of the tax base by 9% from 2023. Okay? So now, instead of going back to rollback rate, which doesn't increase taxes on current residents, however, new values are still taxed. Okay? So instead of going to the rollback rate of 6.77, you want to increase it another 3.5% and go at a 7 flat. Okay? Just for the record, Deltona has the 3rd highest ad valorem taxes in the county. That's right, folks. You guys pay the highest taxes in the county, the 3rd highest. Okay? So that something needs to be done. Our commercial base, 86% of our taxes come from these guys out here. Doesn't come from commercial, doesn't come from agriculture, it comes from people who live in houses, okay? Now, it's already been said, people are scrimping already. You know, you got people choosing between eating, getting groceries, getting prescriptions, paying the rent, putting gas in their car. But yet, you guys want to increase their taxes, okay? Now, our community is made up generally about 30% rental properties, right? Usually rental properties, folks, they may not have enough money to purchase a house or trying to save up for a down payment. Well, those folks don't get a break on the millage rate. They pay full face value. So anybody who's renting a house now, they don't get a break. I've been in my house 25 years. I'm under Save Your Home, which has a cap of 3% on the increase in the adjustable market value. Now, when a house is sold, the cap is 10%. So if I had a $100,000 house and I'm still there, I pay $103,000 adjusted value. If I sold it and somebody else moves in, they pay it on $110,000. I don't think you're going to find a house in Deltona for less than $300,000. Let's be real. Okay, so not only are you increasing the taxes on anybody who's buying a house, but the renters are taking the biggest hit, okay? Now, we got a lot of commissioners up there that cry about affordable housing, slumlords. Their cost for rent is way out of control. We need rent controls. Well, guess what? You guys are the problem. Every time you increase their rate, the rent goes up. Because guess what? Me, if I own a rental property, I'm not absorbing that. I'm passing it on to the end user. Okay? Now, for those of you that keep raising taxes, you have to lower the millage rate. It's not disingenuous, as I keep hearing, that if I go to 7%, I'm lowering your taxes. No, you lowered the millage rate. Adjustable values went through the roof. So anything over 6.77 is a tax increase because the adjustable value went up.
Albert Bryan, please.
You learned something?
You know, I wasn't going to talk about this tonight, but our new finance director decided she wanted to lecture us on what taxes are all about. It's funny, though, when she said something about Save Your Homes, all she talked about was 3%. But we all know that the state actually sets that, and it's never 3%. I think last year it was like 1.25 or maybe just a little bit less than that. So on my home, because I've been in my home 31 years now, which I earned not paying taxes in this city because I get $50,000 off of my house. So this doesn't concern me per se, because all you're going to do is go up a couple dollars on the house or go down a couple dollars on my house. But For the senior citizens and anybody who just moved here, it's thousands of dollars up or down. You, Mayor, you rent a house. You could actually take and go up $100, $200 a month in your rent because of this. Now, think about this. We are talking about just a little bit, and yet he thinks it's $1.6 million that we're talking about. It's not even a whole mill. A whole mill would be $1.6 million. But he thinks we're going to lose $1.6 million if we go to rollback. How can that be? Oh, I understand it. Because he doesn't have enough personnel here. So he's got to have an exorbitant amount of overtime in this budget. Almost just in overtime, you can go down to the rollback rate. That's saying something. That's how much overtime you have in this budget. Now, here's another problem I see with what's going on with this rollback, or not going to rollback. Everybody's preaching that, we need this, we need that, we need this. No, what I'm seeing in the budget is we want this, we want that. There's not true needs. There's the problem. If it was true needs, it would be a flat, zero-based budget. Oh, didn't you say that in the greeting meet? Oh, that's right. I guess that went out the window too. Now, something somebody else said earlier was the fact that we should have started earlier. We were told this year we were going to start earlier because of the fiasco that we had last year. This is no better. We were told we were going to be listened to. Were we listened to? No, we weren't. It took some of us 4 weeks to get answers. Some of us never got answers at all, period. So what we've been told about this process has been a flat-out lie. So I go back to what I said at the last meeting. This is the reason there's no trust. No trust here, there's no trust up here. That's a problem. We got an election coming up. Do all y'all want to be replaced? It's up for vote. Because it's simple to us now. We're tired of it. It's time to move on. It's time to go back to what we promised that we would see, a true rollback. We were promised 2 years ago we'd see a rollback. Never saw it. Under David Sosa's rule, Mr. Peters told him we'd go to a rollback. He never saw it. So we're at 6 years now. We're still looking for a rollback. Promises that have not been kept. And this gentleman told you that earlier this year that, all these houses went down in value. My ass. I can bring any realtor here and show you what the state showed them. It went up 8%. 8%. So that means rollback went up to 8%. It means you have 8% more value in your taxes, just at rollback.
Lindsay Briones, please.
Lindsay Briones, Deltona. I just wanted to talk about the millage rate too. So right now, one of the cheapest houses in Deltona is $225,000. It's an 864 square foot house, and it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. It's off Trumbull Street. The taxes last year on this house were $3,750. With the millage rate increase, because I've already did the calculations, it's going to be close to $5,000 on an 864 square foot house. I'm currently in the process of building a brand new house in a neighboring county, and the millage rate for that county is 5.3%. My taxes on that house, if I was to pay taxes, we don't have to because my husband's a 100% disabled veteran. If we were to pay those taxes on a 3,200 square foot house, it'd be $1,900. There's a problem. Everybody is broke. Everybody here knows I do insurance. The average price in the state of Florida right now is in between $5,000 and $11,000 for homeowners. Volusia County is a coastal county. When you add in the fact that we're coastal county, the average for Volusia County right now is between $6,000 and $11,000, okay? A neighboring county has a smaller mileage than us as well. Their average insurance rates are about 3 to 7. When you add in the insurance rates on top of the millage, we are going to see a lot more foreclosures than we're already seeing now, and there's a lot. I understand we're voting on this tonight, but you guys really need to look at the seniors right now. I am having to help my 91-year-old grandmother afford her medications right now because she can't afford to live anymore. And there's a lot of it. There's a lot. There's a house in DeBerry right now. The owner paid $487,000 for it. They're desperate to sell it. They are selling it now for $399,000 just to get out of it. You're going to see a lot more of that here. So you guys can take it for a grain of salt. Y'all don't have to listen to anything I have to say. I don't really care. But at this point, seriously, something needs to be done. Because if I was to rent out my house, I would have to rent out my house for close to $3,000 just to make up what I'm gonna lose to cover my taxes, because the taxes on my house would be close to $6,000 here. Thank you.
That ends public comment.
All right, this time we're closing public participation period, city commission comments and questions. And we have Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. On this whole thing, there's so much go into it. It's not just a quick, easy, snap your fingers and done. Like Ms. Brandy White says, we discussed last year to go to a full rollback this year, and we're talking about something different. I agree with the 7.2 and 7.0 because we all know it was smoke and mirrors. And I know this is on the millage rate, but if you look at the budget and everything else combined,
we have to stick to the millage.
I know, but the millage rate, they're saying it has to go to this because of what money we got to spend. But like another person said, if our taxable value has went up so much with that money, we're getting more money coming in than we were before. We've got so many more houses that were built with so many more thousands of dollars coming in, but we can't do a rollback. We keep on telling residents we're going to do a rollback, we're going to do a rollback, and we never do. I think it's only fair. Now the budget, like I said, with the budget, it says we can't do a rollback because of what's in the budget. I know it's a whole different topic, but just the $500,000 for this room.
You have to stick to the script.
I'll get to that at the budget part. But like I said, I don't even know how anybody up here, I understand the problems in our city. I understand them very well. I don't know how anybody sitting up here can vote on the 7.0. That's it.
Anybody else want to speak on Commissioner Shimkus?
There we go. I know, like this taxes, no one likes. It's horrible for a discussion on any level. My tax value is going up $5,000. My bill is going down $6. It's different for everyone out there. There's 1,001 scenarios. We talked about a zero-based budget. With the timing of getting a new city manager, it wasn't possible to do that this year. We do have a commitment from the city manager to do that next year, and if we don't, we do now. And I think, I'll be the most unpopular person in the room tonight, and that's fine, but I'm going to make a motion to approve that resolution for 7.0.
Commissioner Folks, please. Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to clear up a few things. There's a lot of terms that are being thrown around, a lot of different tax values and rates that are being thrown around. On your trim notice, there's market value, assessed value, and taxable value, and every single one of them is different. Somebody said and made a comment that the market values didn't go down. My market value did go down. It went from 260 to 235. My assessed value also went up. So both can be true. I can tell you from looking at my tax bill and my trim notice that, like Commissioner Shimkus, my tax bill at 7.0 will go down by a few dollars. The thing that I struggle with is balancing the needs of those in our community that are more economically vulnerable with the wants and expectations of those in our community that are economically stable or more well-off to do. Where do we take tax cuts? Our tax cuts are going to be service cuts. They're going to be cuts to the parks. They're going to be cuts to the fire department. So yes, we can tighten our belt, but I also want to remind everybody that the budget process is a financial planning tool, not we're budgeting for every dollar we spend. I believe that we also have a large amount of our budget from last year or this current year that is going to get returned to fund balance. So there's a lot. It's not as simple as everybody makes it out to be. There's a couple folks that I would like to talk with after this and look at their trim notice with them, because I think there's some confusion on it, but I mostly just wanted to clear up some of the confusion around market value, assessed value, taxable value. Your taxable value is where the homestead exemption is reflected, and I think we're in a tough spot. I see everybody here tonight, but I've also gotten a lot of emails, a lot of calls from residents that complain about the condition of our parks and the condition of our fire department, and that's where we're struggling at. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Harriet. Since I don't see anybody else on the board, I'm gonna just give my 2 cents. On the September 4th meeting, I made some comments myself. I see here the justification for the increase is in order to cover increased operating costs. Well, last commission meeting, I talked about the increased cost for my residents, whether it was food for K through 12 students, whether it was rent, car insurance, house insurance. I can't, in good conscience, vote for this millage rate because I know that residents are suffering, and I know that even some of the residents that are well off are having to help family members because maybe they're not well off. So I'm giving you my 2 cents. Is there a second on the motion that Commissioner Shimkus did? I'll entertain a motion at this time. A second.
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. So there's a motion by Commissioner Shimkus and a second by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. If I can please have Ms. Robbins read and then we'll go to a verbal vote.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. So the City of Deltona hereby proposes a millage rate of 7.00 mils. The millage rate reflects a 3.35% increase from the rollback rate of 6.7730. Again, as noted, it would be recorded as part of the motion.
Okay, if I can please have the city clerk, the verbal vote.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Colwell?
No.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
No.
Mayor Avila?
No. The motion passes 4-3. And I believe at this time I have to make that announcement again, correct? The City of Deltona has adopted a tentative millage rate of 7.0 mils for fiscal year 2024-2025. The tentative millage rate reflects a 3.35% increase from the rollback rate of 6.7730 mils. This time we're going to continue the public hearing, and if I can please have Ms. Robin announce the proposed annual budget summarized as follows.
Sorry, sir, just getting to my page. So the City of Deltona adopting a final ad valorem millage rate of 7.00 mils for fiscal year 2024-25. The final ad valorem millage rate reflects a 3.35% increase from the rollback rate of 6.7730. The proposed annual budget is summarized as follows. General fund, $71,112,700. Special revenues, which include your CRA, $28,054,500. Enterprise funds, $39,272,400. Capital project funds, $8,640,500 for a total citywide budget, $147,080,100. Sir, that's the summary of the resolution or ordinance as presented.
Thank you so much, Robin. At this time, the floor is now open to hear public comments and to take any questions from the public.
Albert Bryan, please.
He's going to a gunfight.
You know, we actually should be doing these backwards. We should be doing the budget first and millage rate, because you should have to actually take and quantify why you're voting for the millage rate by this budget. Because there's so much fluff in this budget that is sickening. I only had, let's see here, since Thursday to go through this budget, because that's how long it took for them to get it up onto the website. Now, granted, state statute says you only have to have 24 hours to 48 hours to be it up on the website to be legal. But there's a little bit more to this than just being legal. We're talking about a lot of money here. When you guarantee overtime by putting it in the budget the way you did, you're basically giving departments, oh, that's right, we don't have any department heads, do we? Yeah, that's right, we only got a couple now. So it doesn't matter, I guess, because you're going on board as a staff now. Why is that? Because we have such a bad reputation of acting like children that nobody wants to come here and work. And it starts up here. The budget starts up here. We didn't have any budget meetings at all during August, did we? We could have had two workshops, but no, we chose not to, did we? So the public really never got any real action on this budget at all, none whatsoever. Yeah, we had a little question in the air, you know, but did we actually ever get all our answers? No, we didn't. We really didn't. Now, somebody made a great effort helping me in the last couple days, but here's the problem with that. When they quantify it to the fact that we don't have staff, so they have to have all this overtime, all they're saying is they're giving up. They don't really mean to look at the budget and cut it. Because at the end of the day, you know, whether he lives in the city or not, it doesn't matter to him. Because he's making his bankroll. That's all there is to it. You know, that News Journal little article you did was great. It really was. It made us look like fools for actually bringing him here at the end of the day. Because he's worried about what this looks like. You know, I don't care what this looks like. What matters to me is what they vote, how they vote. Because that's what affects me. What you do day to day affects me. I've been here 9 years, standing right here. I haven't missed a regular meeting in 9 years because that's how passionate I am about these folks behind me. This has never been about me. Never. I've never stood here and say, I want this, I want that for me. I stay in here and say, we need this because they are hurting. I've done more from this podium than most of you have done up there on the dais. I had roads paved when we couldn't pave them for a while. We had the police chief, or actually the sheriff, take and stay at his rate for 2 years. We actually accomplished that. This year, I understand he's going up because of office and other details. He's going to bring in extra officers. I get that. But think about this. We're also taking and having so many vehicles all at once that in 10 years, we're going to have to do this all over, put out another $10 to $15 million just in vehicles.
Ryan, please.
Kathy Bryan, Deltona. And sadly, what we're experiencing here, what we seem to experience every year when it's budget time, is a symptom of many, many things that a lot of which can't be controlled here. So, make sure you're looking out at your county, your state, and your feds. So, with that being said, I discussed some of this with my commissioner, et cetera, and yes, costs are increasing across the board. But when it comes to some of the subjects in the budget, the bottom line is, yes, but all of them are increasing, including the things that we need for infrastructure, the things, stormwater, roads, et cetera, right? I would rather see us put more money towards that before it goes up. Because let's face it, we keep talking about how most of the tax burden's on the residents. We need more commercial. How are we going to get commercial? Improve our infrastructure. Well, to improve our infrastructure, we need money. We're in a big circle. Whoopee. So I have a feeling, I'm like Randy, I think you guys have probably already made up your mind on what you're going to do. But I really think you need to look at this a lot harder. It is my hope that next year we get started early and that we have true communication between the residents and the commissioners. Because you guys are footing the bill, but there's 7 of you. There's 93,000 of the rest of us, right? Somebody said, something about well-to-do people having to help their families. It's not well-to-do people. It's people struggling to help their families who are struggling even more. So let's really look again, cut down things. I know people think you got to have this, you got to have that, we got to do this, we got to do that. No, we need to look at investing in our city, and investing in our city means improving our infrastructure, and it means putting the funds toward it so that we can increase our tax base commercially, which I've kind of already said. But yes, next year I would like to see, I know this time it didn't go over so well, it was done quickly, but I would like to see more interaction between residents, the dais, and staff. I think that's about all I have for this one. Thank you.
Brandy White, please.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can we take a 10 or 15-minute break?
Sir, we're in the middle of, you're more than welcome to step outside and take a break.
Brandy White, Deltona. So in previous years, I presented multiple questions from every tab and got nowhere. So this year, I decided to do something a little different. I picked 2 tabs and just asked a few questions off of each tab. When I got those, I would move on to another tab. I'm still on those 2 tabs. Still haven't got some of the answers that I asked. Some of the answers contradict the answers I was given on the other side. So that's concerning as well. Instead of going through any more budget items, because let's face it, it's going to get voted on tonight, so anything I say is really not going to make a difference. I just want to instead express my extreme disappointment. 2 individuals specifically. First and foremost, our city manager, and here's why. When we were interviewing for the city manager, it was asked to be authentic. That was the exact word that we asked for somebody to be with the residents, authentic. What we were told that day was we would see day 1 significant change that could be accounted for. We were told that the budget would be zeroed out and started from scratch, and we would build from there, because we all agreed that last year's budget, I don't have any nice terms for it, so I think we can just all agree, okay? Last year's budget should not be an example for any budget moving forward. So I'm disappointed that I'm hearing, well, he didn't have enough time. Well, then you shouldn't have promised us that. That's where the distrust comes from. That's where the questions come from. I knew it was fluff because that didn't make sense. Nobody can come in and upright a ship in day one and make a visible change that people can actually put merit on, right? That's just common sense. So I didn't appreciate getting the fluff to begin with. But now here the problem is you have people that want to see it happen. We've been promised it. But you're saying give them a chance, give them a chance. Well, then you shouldn't have been unauthentic to begin with. You should have said, listen, this year's going to be tight, but I promise next year. I will say, though, in terms of the overtime, I do find it odd that there's such a high amount of overtime in the same line that we're budgeting for the position to get filled. So, I mean, are we paying for the position, or are we paying for the, well, no, we're paying for both. So that's, as we mentioned, should be a large rollover next year, right? Do you see where I'm going with this guy? Come on. With that, I think we're just going to sit in some uncomfortable silence for the next minute so that we can just really think about the fact that you have such interactive residents that for whatever reason you don't want to interact with. My second disappointment is Commissioner Harriet. And I'm going to say this because we did sit and talk about the budget, and we did have a meeting on it. And my one hope that you getting up there was for me was like, oh, a finance guy. Because he's going to see what we see, and he's going to address it. Well, big disappointment there. Can't take off the government hat long enough to put on the resident hat, because that's who you're supposed to be representing. We understand the budget. We understand they are here to get what they need. But you guys are supposed to be protecting us and saying, fine and dandy, but here's the compromise we can come to, instead of, sorry, eat it.
Courtney Cross-Burgos, please.
Courtney Cross-Burgos, Deltona. I have a question, so I don't get gavelled again. Do I talk about Volusia now, or when it comes up for consensus? I don't want to get canceled.
You can go for it.
Okay. Anyway. Number one, I want to thank Dana for trying to help me out with this budget. She actually called me, and when I was asking for the numbers on the slide, she said she would get with Doc. She did do that, but Doc did get me the numbers as well. I was so adamant, that was, as you all know, my emails all week long, is I wanted to get the budget and the numbers in enough time so that we could bring any concerns or questions that we had forward to you all before tonight's meeting, before you voted on it. And it was last minute, like Albert said. But when I discussed it with Dana, she said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it is a final budget tonight, but not quite like Brandy said, that it can still, things can still be struck out in the budget after tonight. That you guys can still go to Doc and say, nope, that's not good, and you strike it out. So I don't know if that's, I don't think Dana would lie to me, but that's what she said. So I'd like to know if that is true, or if tonight is end all, that we're all just wasting our voice up here. Second thing is, what I started to say earlier with the Halifax, I'm confused as to why it says that we have a $40,000 contract with them, but in the budget it says $55,000. So I'd like to know where that $15,000 is going. And the parks, a little bit on the parks. Like I said before, we approved the $70,000. Are we using what we got? Not the parks, sorry, the summer program. And Team Volusia, as the mayor brought up last week, we're spending $58,000, which is like equivalent to the scholarship, on, so far, a company that's not bringing much to the table. Now, Jody Lee says they will be, so I don't know. But did any of the questions get answered on Team Volusia from last week? Because I haven't heard them, and I've been trying to pay attention. So we've just got some concerns here that, again, I get, Davison explained to me that this is not like my personal budget, because I did offer to come and do the budget for you. But like the mayor said last week, you got to work within what you've got. So you know how much you got for the city as it stands. Then you got to look at what things cost you, your utilities, your salaries, whatever, all your expenses. And then after you get those things covered, then you do the trickle-down effect, the next most important, and the next, and the next, down to what we get to wants, not needs. So I am dumb on this subject, and I will admit that, but I don't understand how it could be that different that it's not the general concept of it. You know how much money you're starting with. How do we make it work out? How do we get it to zero out on the bottom? And like David Sosa said, you already got increases on the tax, the stormwater, and the solid waste. And I don't know. I don't understand why we keep needing more before we know what we've got going. And again, Maritza, I have lots of questions on the budget, and I sent them to you and have not heard one peep back. It's very disheartening. Sorry.
Richard Bellick, please.
That was good. Good one. There's a lot of things a lot of overtime being paid here. There's a lot of things in that budget that be scrapped out. I told you this before. You just don't want to listen. You got Sosa, you got Elbert, you got Brandy. These are numbers people. They'll still rip this budget apart, but you don't want to listen. You're better than them. You're better than them. You can't shine their shoes when it comes to numbers. Who you's kidding? Now look, Hope, I want to tell you people something right now. They give yous nothing. They give yous nothing. When I come up here, I want to give them heartburn because I know what they are. They're connivers. These votes are made up in the back.
Mr. Bellick, you need to stop with the personal attacks, please.
Oh, I didn't mention your name yet. Welfare, I didn't mention your name.
Mr. Bellick, you need to stop with the personal attacks.
Okay, Mr. Assistance. Now the budget. Here's my own beef. You got two guys up here that weren't even elected, and they're voting on the budget. And Haro, I hope you get defeated.
Mr. Bellick.
As far as the other guy, he's gone. We don't have to worry about the beard there. He's gone. But anyway, getting back to the budget. How about, why are you paying so much overtime to people? You're supposed to be physically responsible for their tax dollars, but you're not. You sit up there week after week, you get your $250 check, and you're happy. Who you's kidding? Who you's really kidding? That's what you're happy about, your little $250 a week check. And you push this off, you push that off, you promise them this. You never do nothing for them. I mean, seriously, what have you done for them? You heard the woman before. She didn't know if Dana's a liar or not.
Mr.
I know
Bellick,
she's a liar. Maybe you don't.
You're out of order, Mr. Bellick.
Seriously.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring on the lawsuit.
Please.
There's a motion by Ms. McCool to have Mr. Bellick removed.
I'm asking for a point of process here because if we make a procedure on...
The woman said you were a liar. I didn't.
There's a problem with that, not following the process. I do. I have a problem. Tell me what the process is.
I'm going to go smoke.
Thanks. Oh, come on.
Go ahead, Mr. Bellick, finish.
I can't understand.
Please finish your comments.
You got that gavel out too many times. But anyway, like I said, you don't do nothing for the people. I see that. I'm the type of guy, I got spirit, I got some fight in me, and I say to myself, how can these people do this week after week? Push things down there, do this, do that. But you run home with that $250 check on their tax money. Let's get to the bottom line here. There's none of you that say, I'll do it for nothing. So let's get there first. Now, you said rollback. There's no rollback. The rollback was already decided. That was decided before you even came out here. You know what you were doing. I mean, when you come to con artists, I mean, I could pick up.
Mr. Bellick.
Listen.
You need to stop with the personal attacks, please.
I didn't mention no first attack. What's wrong with you? Did you hear your name mentioned? Before I could see you getting before me, when I said you were on welfare, getting public assistance,
Bellick.
and your food was paid for by the state.
Mr. Bellick, have a good day, Mr. Bellick.
Take care, pal.
I know you're going to gavel.
Christian O'Brien, please.
I did not call Dana a liar. I said I didn't think she would lie.
Question them.
So you can hit the gavel.
Christian O'Brien, what, I got 4 minutes? All right, let's take a little moment of zen. Tensions are really high, and I think we all understand why. I was one of those. My taxes officially just went up by $1,000. I have a house valued at $270, and now it's I think, what is it, $4,000, somewhere around there. So I'm one of those, and before I get into it, I do have to say, Doc, what are you at? Have you even hit 90 days yet, or are you just over 90 days? If you don't mind me asking.
Mr. O'Brien, you have to direct your question.
Okay, all right. So, I think we all should ease up on Doc a little bit. He's only been here less than 90 days, and he was voted unanimously by the commission. So if any of us as citizens have a problem, we should really direct it at the commissioners for that vote. That being said, in regards to the budget, I think this would be easier for all of us to swallow if over the past year this had been exhausted. Last week we saw, 2 weeks ago we saw tensions rise after voting for the millage rate and the budget, but it was over badge access and luncheons and that poor scapegoat scholarship. I think we as citizens would feel better right now if over the past 6 months you guys were flipping tables over the budget, over the numbers, over what we can cut and what we can't. But it just feels like every time we come into these meetings, it's like cracking knuckles and addressing what's on here without worrying about what next month's going to be, what the other month's going to be. So everybody's talking about next year's budget, and hopefully in the next couple months we should start talking about it. No, we need to start talking about it next meeting, especially since I hate to be the one to talk about 25-26 budget, but the stormwater fees are going to skyrocket, and that's according to the 5-year plan that you guys put out, So we have a real serious problem coming up. And we don't have the Deltona wages to support it. We just don't. I mean, the taxes keep going up, the budget keeps going up, but you look outside and you try to get a job around here, you're looking at $14 an hour, $16 an hour, $18 an hour. That can't support these taxes. So without the infrastructure, I mean, the house of cards could just crumble. That's what we all have to get ready for. I think what you're going to start seeing are people selling their houses and just fleeing and just exiting. This may be one of the only areas over the next, couple of months across the country where our values go down, because the only way people are going to be able to sell their houses is to be able to bridge that gap between the high taxes that the next buyer coming in is going to have to pay. So if the buyer is smart enough, they're going to realize that the taxes are going to be so high, and the seller has no choice but to lower their house value. And that's going to be a real problem here. Ultimately, again, this comes down to we need commercial infrastructure to be able to support this budget. We need the jobs that infrastructure is going to bring to support the budget. And we need, as we're about to vote on it, we need an economic development team and structure that's going to be able to support it. Thank you.
David Sosa, please.
Okay, let's talk about this budget. It's a hot mess, plain and simple. What's disingenuous, I like that word, I've heard it all over social media, anybody who doesn't agree with taxes or tax increase, they're called disingenuous. What's disingenuous is having a millage rate that's 7.35, reducing it to 7.0, and then claiming that you gave the residents a $1.7 million tax break. That's baloney. What you did was you took $1.7 million less out of their pocket. But what you did do, by not going back to the rollback rate, was you took $1.7 million extra out of all of your pockets, is what they did. Okay? So let's talk about disingenuous there. Okay? Now, after a couple of meetings a couple of times ago, I wasn't here, it was on a Wednesday, there was discussion about items being added and deleted from the budget. Major items. Okay, there was a list on the screen there. Okay, let's get this right. We removed $885,000 from the budget. But here's the catch. Guess how much they added? $2.2 million is what you added. I don't know about you guys, but when these folks ask for a tax decrease, they don't want you to add $2.2 million to the budget, they want you to take it away. Okay? So let's be realistic here. That's what you did. Your budget cuts. AC, well, let's see, you took out a fire transport and some parks and recs trucks. Okay? Then let's see what we added. AC for this room here, it's kind of cold right now, maybe some maintenance. I don't know if we need an $800,000 new unit. Elevator repair, we're replacing it. I mean, I've been up and down that elevator multiple times. Maybe some maintenance, I don't know. The commission chambers, they were just remodeled less than 2 years ago. Fresh carpet, new paint, upstairs got all new flooring, lighting, everything. So why are we spending over $500,000 to renovate this room here? I read it in the Beacon, the News Journal, that I guess that $500,000 is going to be bringing you guys from up there down here. I'll be honest with you, there's not that many people in here on a regular meeting. I could care less if they sit up there. I'd rather have my $500,000 in my budget than bring them down here. Okay? Next, free summer camp. We're going to hire 2 staff, a male and a female, for 6 parks for the summer for free camp. Okay, let's discuss that. That's going to be $70,000. What are we doing? Part-time guys, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day? Makes no sense. You got all the liability of those kids now. Right now, you have a summer program at West Cryle that's packed. You have the Boys and Girls Club, which the commission gives, $25,000, $50,000 to out of our CDBG money. You got the YMCA, and guess what? You have a lot of commercial-based businesses that offer that service. But here we go. We're going to use taxpayer money for a socialist program. I don't agree with it. Okay? Local businesses offer those, yes. Now, next, we're doing a study to give the sheriff's office a $100,000 study to see if we need to build a new sheriff's department. Nothing personal, I like you guys. But we added 3 new positions. I haven't gotten all the information. I asked for it. I haven't gotten anything yet. But if we're adding 3 positions, why do they need more office space? They're actually patrols, aren't they? So why do we need to spend $100,000 on a study for a whole new building? You guys are not fiscally responsible. You're not taking care of the taxpayers. You're wasting our money.
Diane Anthony, please.
There's a whole binder full of fluff in here. Jody, I asked you to go through it.
Thank you,
There
Mr.
it is,
Sosa.
right there. There's a ton of it.
Diane Anthony, please.
First of all, I'd like to thank the people that did listen to the residents and did vote for not raising the millage rate, because at least you stood up for us. And I would like to say I've learned some things. For example, what he was just saying that were extra things in the budget. I know when you mentioned that people were, wanted more money for parks or things done there, and fire department. Yes, fire department is very important, and I think parks are very important for our children. But when we're talking about people trying to put groceries on the table, sometimes those extra programs are just not an emergency for the year. We need to concentrate on people being able to live here. And when you look at the few people here, it's not because they don't care. It's because they are so busy trying to maintain their household and pay their bills. And the other thing is, I just found out about this meeting today because honestly, when you're a busy person taking care of your family and your property, you don't have time to completely know all this, which I would like to be a part of, starting to educate the residents and make it very easy for them to find out what is going on and what is being voted on by who. And if anyone wants to help me direct there, I would love to work on that. Also, I'm looking at my bill because someone here pointed out that some of the things that are important in taxes are not even paid by Deltona. So I'm looking at my garbage, solid waste, stormwater, drainage, and our lighting, and I am going, wow, that cuts out a lot of things that people would think that your budget would cover, but it doesn't. And I feel like things need to change. Before I was a school teacher, I worked in accounting, and I know if you really look at a budget and you want to cut down some things that are not absolutely necessary, I am shocked that he talked about the amount of money that is being proposed for this building. That is practically, this building still looks pretty new. I cannot imagine. This is not an emergency this year. And I am sad to see that people think it is so important for the rest of us trying to pay our bills and support our families that you feel like this air conditioning feels fine to me and it's the middle of summer. I am really hoping that things change in the future. I am also upset that I had an obligation tonight, an important obligation, but I took the time out to run over here because for all the meetings I've been in the different counties in Central Florida, it seems like people try to show up and then they get up here and talk and they plead with you to listen to them. And it doesn't happen. And I would like to say one other thing. Every time I go to a meeting about development, and all I hear politicians say is, well, this will increase our tax base, and then it will lower our taxes. But it never does. What happens is there's some vague restrictions for developers. They come in and make all the money. We're left with a lot more people that we have to find tax money for roads and schools and water. And I'm going to say in the future, we need to do something about tightening up of those restrictions on developers who walk away without paying, and we're getting stuck with the bill.
Thank you. Lindsay Briones, please.
Lindsay Briones, Deltona. I'm going to apologize now. I'm going to get a little bit spicy. So, when the city hired the new city manager, did the city pay his $3,000 hypnotist fee that he advertised on his personal website before coming from Garden City to Deltona? Residents from Garden City are all over the Deltona pages, FYI. You have one. I have a screenshot of it. I have a screenshot I can show you. We were promised a zeroed-out budget, but we were fed a bunch of smoke and mirrors. We're going to be millions of dollars in the red in the next 10 or so years based off of previous commission meeting comments. With all of that said, with the new budget and new millage rate, are we going to increase the city's turkey giveaway for Thanksgiving from 400 to maybe 800, and my husband and I will pick up the tab from our own pocket with a few donations for another 120 families of Deltona like we did last year? Can we start a community pantry besides the little food box at the Deltona Boulevard, because we are going to need it? I am constantly donating bags of food, formula, and pet food to citizens within this community. There are people within this audience and even a commissioner who has helped me feed and gift our citizens of Deltona out of our own pockets, and for that I thank you. As for City Hall needing repaired, can we hold off on that and fix our stormwater issues? This is a serious problem and people are broke. This is disingenuous and disheartening. Sorry for the messed up of the words. The fluff in this budget is just that, fluff. Take those extra programs and put them on the back burner for now and fix the emergencies such as stormwater and flooding. Eric Burris, who's a meteorologist, said that there looks like there's going to be something coming up around September 27th. That's going to cut straight through. You can look at it. If that happens, we're going to be back underwater again. We already partially are. By the way, if any of you need help acquiring a list of local food banks in the area or a list of resources, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I do have some resources available. I'll email you.
William Mabry, please.
Good evening, everyone. I was just watching everything online and wanted to come in and say my 2 cents. I wanted to speak from my place and what I see for the budget. I know that everybody's struggling. You know, it's very difficult. We are trying to create a budget that meets the needs that we have in the city, and we do find things like replacing the air conditioning that might not seem like an emergency right now, but we don't know what the air compressors look like in the back. We don't know what the air handlers look like. The ducts could be falling, you know, apart. There could be holes in them. We don't know, and I think that's a problem here for a lot of the residents that we try to come up here and we try to speak about things, but we don't know. Right? We don't have all of the information. Whether that is your responsibility to tell us or not, I know that a lot of residents want that, but that's a lot of minutia. That requires a lot of trust on our part for the city and the staff. And I think we have to, as residents, have a little bit more trust that we are going to have experts in here that are going to address those needs, that are going to take care of those things. That's not to discredit the points that people bring up, that maybe there is something that needs to be cut. If people want to be in here without air conditioning because it's going to fall apart and we don't want to pay for it, that is what the residents want. I might not agree with it. I completely don't agree with that. I want to spend money on nice things. I'm in a position where I make good money. I pay taxes, and I want a good city. I want parks. I want parks in here that I'm never going to use. I want parks for other people in the city to use. I also want things like the scholarship funds, because I believe that educating children will, and I don't want to sound cold in this fact, but it's going to make them more productive citizens. They will produce more. They will generate more income. They'll have better lives. They'll be able to support their families better, and they'll be able to contribute to their community better. I think it's a very sad state of affairs when people online are attacking the very thing that will enrich our community. And I think that's very telling, even though it's a small section of our budget. $50,000, I believe, was what the amount was. Of course, we are covering it right now because it did come from some different funding sources previously. But we could go to Advent Health. We could go to other places and have them cover those bills and, you know, pour that back into the city. And ultimately, I want to see more of that kind of investment into our community. But again, there are people that are just on fixed incomes here that we can't really invest in. We have to support them. And so as we look forward into the budgets, you know, we want to try to find ways to invest in our city, to generate more revenue, to generate more value, and attract more income earners that will also help offset the costs of those people on fixed incomes. And I think that's a very difficult situation. And I wish everybody would have more understanding about that, because it's trying to balance all these disparate needs. You know, you've got one group over here unlimited and fixed incomes. You've got another group over here of low wage earners because of the area and the types of jobs are here. And then you also have another group of high wage earners that are, you know, trying to look forward and trying to push the city forward and trying to have a little bit more of a longer vision. And I would recommend to everybody on the commission and here in the audience, all citizens at home, to try to have a little bit longer perspective. Don't just concern yourself with the short term. I know we're trying to survive. I know it's hard, but we have to look forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow will be there. And we have to invest in ourselves today in order to succeed for tomorrow. So, thank you.
That ends public comment.
That closes the public participation period. City Commission comments and questions are next. I have Vice Mayor Jody Lee and Commissioner Harriet after.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, there's 7 of us up here elected. Everybody's got different opinions on different things. And when it concerns this budget, you listen to everybody. I've had different conversations with people in this room, and everybody is right. The city manager did tell us he was going to zero out the budget and start fresh. And you're right, that didn't happen. He did come in late in the game, so I'll throw a little there. If you look at the fluff in it, I mean, we're paying consultants to tell us about consulting, about other consultants that we've already hired to consult on something else. We're doing the Teresa Basin study again for the 3rd or 4th time over the last 10 years that we're probably not going to do anything with, because that's what we do. So you got that. You got vehicles that were taken out of the budget for Parks and Recs that they desperately need. You got $500,000 for this room. I'm sorry. What's wrong with this room? Nothing. Okay. You have people sitting here in the audience that talk about their storm drains are so clogged up, the water's flooding and destroying the road or washing out different areas. But yet in the budget, there's another spot in there that says they want $325,000 to mow the grass in the storm drains from an outside company. We have Parks and Recs out here putting out mulch and cleaning up City Hall, but we have an outside company mowing the grass. How many lawnmowers does the city own? Don't we have stormwater crews that can mow around the retention ponds and stuff like that? But there's $500,000 in this budget in grass mowing in town for outside companies, not workers, outside companies. Well, if that's the case, why is there like a 400% increase across the board for overtime? There's so much in here. I mean, there's one spot, we have an HR director that has 2 recruiters, but just in 2 companies that are listed in here we'll be going over, it's $500,000 to consult us on hiring people. And then I got told today, or yesterday, whatever we had today, that it was accidentally put in the budget twice. Well, if it was accidentally put in the budget twice, it would be the same amount. But it wasn't. It's different amounts. So guess what? Someone's now trying to lie to me as an elected official. It's 100,000, 110,000, 50, 60, 40. If it was inadvertently put in there twice, it'd be the same amount. It's not rocket scientists. Oh, I accidentally put it twice. It'd be the same amount, same company. No, it's 2 different companies, 2 different amounts for the same job. We waste. We need to stop wasting. We keep promising we're going to be responsible. We're going to do this. Come on. Half of this, it'd be very useful in an outhouse. Because that's what a lot of it is. A lot of it is important, but there's a lot of fluff in there too. Everybody's crying about bills, paying bills, everybody. But hey, you know something? We need something to look pretty. We want it to be shiny and new. If you can't fix the stormwater issues, why should we repaint our building? If we can't fix the problem she's been having, addressing and asking for a couple of years, if we can't fix her problem, why should we get a new carpet? There's other things that are more important than putting paint, putting lipstick on a pig and saying, having a night. No, it's still pig. We just want to throw money at it, make everything shiny and pretty. Everybody will forget about the important stuff. Enough is enough. We promised them last year we were going to fix the budget and lower the millage rate. And here we get, well, maybe next year you guys can stick to it and do it. No, we said that last year. We promised everybody and we didn't do it. So maybe it's time we actually stand up and do it and not just keep talking blah, blah, blah and nothing getting done. I understand why people don't have faith, because everybody sits up here and, well, we can do this, we can do that. And what do? The same thing from last year, the year before, the year before. Hey, next year we'll do it. We all know that's a crock. I'm sure I'll talk again, but thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to go back to when we first hired Doc, and at least with a few conversations that I had, they all centered around the fact that he's coming in 3 weeks before we saw the budget. And the commitment that I had, and I believe was made at the budget presentation, was that the zero-based budget would start next year. So I know that that's been a hot topic. That's a key issue this evening. But if I would implore somebody to go back and look at the minutes, the meetings, and I believe that was a commitment to begin that next year. That's an impossible feat to do in 3 weeks. And I also want to remind everybody that because of, because of the instability at City Hall and many things leading into it, we lost a finance director and a deputy finance director in the middle of the budget process also. So we want to talk and make this political, and that's fine, but we also want to throw out there that going to rollback is protecting residents. I don't believe protecting residents is going to roll back this year knowing that we have tens of millions of dollars in stormwater projects over the next 2 or 3 years. And just like we've seen in the assessments that went up this past year that weren't adjusted over the last 4 or 6 years, when you don't look at those adjustments or those assessments annually, taking into account the projects that we need, that are needs legitimately, like everybody, not everybody, but like many people spoke about today with stormwater, then you're setting ourselves up. Sure, we go to rollback this year. In 2 years, now we've got a 2 mil jump so that we can pay for all these projects. I don't think that's the fiscal responsible thing to do. I think the fiscally responsible thing is to budget for our 5-year plan, budget for our needs this year and future needs next year and the year after. Not to mention the fact that everybody wants to talk about the AC. I believe if we all got an email saying that the AC in this building was out over the weekend or the end of last week. So sure, it works today, and I'm appreciative of that, and I'm sure we all are. But we've got how many, dozens or hundreds of employees that work in this building? We're trying to come back and correct some instability at City Hall. Do we really want that many employees, the bulk of our employees, working in an unair-conditioned building because we're scared to put air conditioning budgets in the budget? We saw at the September 4th meeting, dozens of residents come and complain about the parks. Dozens. So do we want to just continue to let our parks, dilapidate? Do we want to continue to let the drainage issues at the parks wash away the fields, the previous capital investments? And it was made, the comment was made that, we can make adjustments to the budget throughout the year, and that is absolutely fact. At any given meeting, we can bring a future budget amendment to the commission. And then also on fiscal responsibility, we've seen over the last 2 years, and I'm going to word this very carefully, we've seen a slowdown in the growth of home prices. That slowdown in the growth is what's going to eventually, in the next couple of years, come to a point where if we don't plan for it now, it'll also contribute to a jump in millage when we actually see home values reduce, and that's going to hit residents even harder then. So fiscal responsibility is not going to roll back now. Fiscal responsibility is making sure that we don't impact residents unnecessarily next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that. So with that, I believe I've hopefully made the point that we've got a lot of work to do, but I think that this budget represents a lot of work that has already been done in a very short period of time.
I'm going to go to the city manager, then Commissioner McCool, and then if anyone that hasn't spoken yet doesn't, we'll go back to Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, actually 1 second. I'd also like to add that if anybody that voted against the millage wants to make a motion and propose a different budget, I think that would be the wise thing to do if everybody's so much against it.
Thank you, Commissioner Harriet. City Manager and then Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Just unfortunately, the slides did not show earlier. I just want to point out, for about 5 years straight, the commission had a millage rate of 7.85. 2 years ago, this commission decided to change it to 7.6, a reduction of 0.2. Last year, it was reduced to 7.35, which is a reduction of 0.3. This year, we're at 7.0, a deduction of 0.35. For those that missed the slide, this commission is on a deep dive, although for 4 to 5 years, it didn't adjust at all. Back in 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, it stayed high. It's on its way on a nice slant down. A couple of corrections as we continue these discussions. Zero-based budget is what we are absolutely doing next year. I clearly said that's what I prefer to do, and every 5 years you should do it. The moment I get here, there's an entirely full budget done. It would take months to go line by line, which is what zero-based budget is. For the conversation that keeps coming out that I lied and I said I was going to do it, did not say that we're doing it this year. I didn't even know fully what the budget was in detail during my interviews or anything else. Never used the words we're going to roll back. I don't believe in going to roll back. I would have never said that also. Thank you, yes. Yes, zero-based budget is the way we should go, but you can't do it when there's an entire budget in place with a meeting in the next week. $500,000 placeholder for this building is not for this room. We have $1 million in the budget for facilities. So just as a placeholder, well, we said if we do something in this changing, not this room, changing the chamber dais and adding a little more space for communications in that back closet, including the front entrance coming into the building, and especially the back hallway that anybody has seen at this point. But as I mentioned at the meeting, we're talking about trying to get the college program involved, interior design, and come up with something. There is no invoice for $500,000 that we're spending. It's a placeholder. We could have just easily not put it in there and just come to the commission and say, we're going to take it out of the reserves. We'd like to do this. Commission's going to be involved in that. It's a misnomer to keep saying $500,000 is being spent in this room. $100,000 for a study for the police station is also not correct. That same thing, placeholder. I mentioned to the county about the possibility of trying to build a new sheriff's station. It'd be nice if the county would actually do the building itself. We're not spending $100,000 for a study. We're not spending $100,000 for a building. It was just a commitment to say we'd like to look into our police station of 100,000 people. We probably should have a station that's worth something more than the postage stamp that's over there now. And I know they're overbooked with space, and also citizens can come right up to somebody being handcuffed getting out of a car because there's not proper security. So for 100,000 people, I think we need a proper police station, sheriff station. Back to the placeholder, also the elevators. There's 2 elevators in this building. Comment was made, this one works. Good luck on the other one. Pretty much 3-4 days a week, there's an out of order, and I don't know if there's still somebody sitting inside the elevator. It doesn't move most of the time. Very unsafe. And then Also, the chiller broke down. Yes, it did break down on Friday. Many of the offices you spend time in are very warm in this building as it is. There's many more units also than just one unit here. So it does feel good tonight, but that's not the rest of the time normally. A couple other things real quick, Mayor. I'm sorry. 18 months in advance. That's usually when a budget is put together. So people understand right now, over the last 4 months, staff put together, 5 months, put together the budget, a number of budget meetings. It doesn't even go into play until October 1st. Basically, the staff is anywhere in the world guesstimating what expenses are going to be September a year from now. So when people look at a budget and say it should be hardcore, staff should know exactly where it's at, that's not true at all. It is still a projection, and a lot of times what your past expenses are, you're hoping, but that doesn't always happen. And one thing I'd want to point out that Commissioner Harriet did mention, any time at any given time during a year, the budget can be changed. We may have a request in there to do this room, and comes out it might be something to make a new table a little more friendly than what we have here. The commission says, no, we don't do it. But it's in the budget. Well, we're not spending it. Or there's other times when a computer software comes out that we can say to the commission, this is something very important, it's a new product, can make us more efficient, then we can actually change the budget to purchase something. A budget is not stagnant of whatever we pass tonight, we are stuck forever. There's always play one way or the other to be efficient as much as possible. But I think there's some misnomers out there of what this is and what we're doing tonight. We're agreeing to something, but it is not hardcore and fast. And as it was mentioned earlier by commissioners, I believe, money that was not spent on employees that were not fulfilled, those positions, goes into the fund balance. And I believe we are looking at a tremendous amount of projects coming with the Teresa Basin that, again, is not going to be 100,000 or 500,000. It will be multi-millions to try to get the basin in place. So we're being prepared for that, but at the same time, it must be understood that this commission's dropping a millage down, the largest millage, and it's got to be 10 years, maybe more, going by our charts. So we're in a very good position, working our way down. Just that other information, I think, is misunderstood by people that have spoken. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then Commissioner McCool.
You know, when it comes to budget, you're right, Mr. City Manager, you haven't been here long enough. I agree. To come in here to zero, I hope you get it done this next year. But if we look at the different things in the budget, and fiscal responsibility, I agree, Commissioner Harry, but at the same time, we can't be financially responsible if we push everybody out of the city to move somewhere else where it's cheaper. And that's what we're starting to do. The stuff is getting, it's not just us, it's across the whole country, things are getting pricey. But like we just had a meeting upstairs about the pre-agenda. HR, we're going to get another presentation on insurance. That's going to save us a couple $100,000. The different stuff about doing stuff around this building is, if we didn't do it, we can save some money. There's ways to cut what we're spending. There's actually ways. And then you made a comment that it was hard during the budget season because we lost our director and the assistant director. I'm sorry. When you don't do the paperwork and $6,000 bill turns into $1 million bill for the IRS, they should go. So there's a lot of issues. I'm not blaming everything on our manager. He's not been here long enough. A lot of this is not his fault, but he's now in charge. So he's the one that has to fix this, and we have to continue to hold the feet to the fire to correct this so we can fix our budget and make it good enough for the people that live here, not just us sitting here, the people that work for the city. We're proposing right now in this budget 10% pay raise across the board for everybody in the city. Last year, we just gave 5%, and before our manager got here, there was a handful of people that got 10% so pay raises. So that means some people in the city are going to have a 25% pay raise in 12 months.
Are y'all hiring?
So this is the stuff that needs to be, this is the truthful stuff. And it's not his fault. He wasn't here. But
But ask the residents if they can please, we didn't interrupt you when you were trying to speak. Let us finish, please.
Thank you, Mayor. In this budget, he's proposing 10% across the board for everybody. I don't think that's fair. That's just my opinion. But if we vote on this budget, it's all saying okay to that too. So that means there's a handful of people who are going to get 25% in 1 year for a pay raise. I'm just putting it out there. Let's be truthful about it. It's not his fault. He wants to give a pay raise and get people up to the standard. And I agree, I get it, but it all has to be put out there.
The
Thank you.
Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to talk about this at 7.0 and doing research not only on our budget, but on trends that are going on in the state. I sit on the TPO, Transportation Planning Organization, and look past just what the municipal needs are and what the future needs will be here in determining our budget. And one of the most needed projects in water and stormwater projects, as you know, as we put forth the stormwater assessment, but we have to plan on these future by starting now on these projects, and I'll tell you why. First of all, there was $1 billion cut from our state program for things like this, with $205 million cut from water projects. As we move forward, we're not going to actually be able to get our tax money back from our state. We're basically going to be told to go get a grant for it, and the grant process in these water projects is much more strenuous, much more political than what we have now, and we are having to take care of our communities by thinking ahead in the future. Someone brought up growth and development, which is a very good point, and if anybody goes back through my record on growth and development in this city, I've been very hard on growth and development, meaning that I have tried to bring developers, especially with residential development, to task regarding the damage and what I believe is left over with development not paying for itself. That's my own philosophy. I've seen it. I've seen how it's decimated cities. I've seen how it's changed our landscape, how it's changed our hydrology, how it's changed our stormwater collection. I watch all of this in every single development. I'm about traffic and about development. So I think that my voting record on that speaks for itself. This is a hard thing, and especially what is sad about it is that we're talking about very serious things in a political season, and when you throw politics into a municipality, it's horrible. And that's what part we're dealing with right now. We're going to be asked to go through the Environmental Protection Agency to get money for our stormwater projects, to get money for what we need for infrastructure, because why? Development does not pay for itself. So it is a very, very hard task to make the decisions based on what I may see as what's future trending and how we need to start paying for and what we need to start paying for right now in order for it not to cost more in the future. So in looking at those trends, I'm looking ahead 10 years, and I'm sorry that it hurts today, but we at some juncture in the past had maybe administrations that weren't as brave in choices because it was an unpopular idea. So I would ask us to look at trends over the last 15 years, how we've managed that growth and development, and at some time that needs to come to a stop, and I'm sorry that that is today, but I stand by my vote on that. Also, we have, as a state, rejected $11 billion in federal funding because of the perceived political strings that were attached, so we're also not enjoying the federal money that would help relieve some of the tax burden, and there are other issues also that we could go into also regarding how a municipality gets to where it has to be and what it charges. To speak of the flooding issues going on, it is the largest thing on everyone's mind, especially after a large rain right now. I know that we have done work in the area, and I'll be glad to get with because it is germane to this conversation, after a commission meeting regarding Lamplighter, because I know that we've had to haul water out. I know that we have cut culverts in there. I know that there's been a lot of work, so please know that your cries are not unheard. I've been in that area before working, so I know what's been done over there, and I'll be more than happy. So I ask that what we do in this budget is to remain sensitive to the needs of those that do need that help, but I ask that we not be blind moving forward as we have to look 10 years ahead. We're not just looking at today. I know that my door is open, and I'm sure that if an appointment is actually made with the city manager, that he would be glad to sit down with anyone in this community. I know that he's made time, so I would like to see that someone has made a request to actually sit down with the city manager or an appropriate staff member if there's something that is not understood about a process. And I also agree with everyone else that there are things that we could take out of the budget, and that the budget is not a hard, definitive number. I understand frustration moving through the budget process. It's very detailed. And it is also, it is a very serious job sitting up here as you have residents. I mean, you know, some have left this post earlier than what their commitment was to stay up here on this dais because it is stressful, and we've had people leave halfway during their term, and it's not easy doing this. So I invite you, whatever you have to say, I am very open to sit down with you, whoever you are, whether I disagree with you or we disagree or not, to discuss this so that I can look you. I don't have a problem with sitting down and looking you in the face and telling you why I've made the decisions that I have made, although they are unpopular. I never make a decision sitting up here for a popular political reason. I think that it's disingenuous, and I do love that word because that's a lot of things. So make an appointment with me, and I'll be more than happy to sit down with you and whoever it needs to be sat down with. But I do agree that there are some things that I would not like to see move forward, not the budget itself, because we must move this budget forward, but as far as redoing the chambers, I think we're pretty fine here. And I've made those thoughts known also. So continue to hold accountable. Perhaps it is a dashboard that we could see every month. As I asked Mr. City Manager, this is a serious matter, and in order to avoid moving forward with more taxing and argument, I think that that's what I would like to see, sir, along with any other unfinished business that have been asked of the residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, I'll entertain a proposed motion.
Oh, there is a motion.
Made the motion. Nobody made a motion. That was for the millage.
I move to approve resolution number 2024-51, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 24-25.
There's a motion by Commissioner Shimkus.
I thought somebody else wanted to approve a different budget.
Is there a second?
Apparently they do
We have
not.
a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. All right, at this time, if I can please have Robin read the insert, and then we'll go to a verbal vote.
Just finding the page, sorry. So the City of Deltona has adopted a final ad valorem millage rate of 7.000 mils for fiscal year 2024-2025. Final ad valorem millage rate reflects a 3.35% increase from the rollback rate of 6.7730. Proposed annual budget is summarized as total city-wide budget, $147,080,100. As read in the record earlier, I separated out the general fund special revenue, which includes CRA, enterprise funds, and capital project funds. Sir.
Thank you. If I can please have the city clerk do a verbal vote.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Yes.
No. Commissioner Colwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
No.
Commissioner McCool?
No.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yes.
God damn it. Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
No.
Mayor Avila?
No.
Now who's going to make the motion for a budget that they are willing to pass? We need one. Make a motion.
Unfortunately, we can't change the millage, just so you guys know that. That's where that would have really mattered, not now at the budget time.
No, it does.
City Attorney, can you give us some clarification what we do now, please?
So then we have, the city manager has to propose another budget.
I found this on the web for Ken.
I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, I think that the ask was that there were, based on the revisions that we got, there were a few things that we had, germane things, right, that we had questions or issues on that I would like settled up with the city manager regarding that. So my issue is not so much per se budget as it is some content to provide resolution right away. If we could work on that and figure out the best way to do that. I understand in setting the millage rate what we have done, but that's moving forward with our capital projects and such. But there are a few things that are notated in this budget that I definitely don't want to see in the budget. That is my...
agree with you, 2 million %. Now, sorry, Mr. Mayor, do I have to, so now, I get this right now, the city manager has to present us with another budget that we're comfortable with, and we have very limited time.
Well, based off of the commission's recommendations, suggestions, requests.
I suggest we all meet with them rather quickly, individually, to voice our opinions on certain stuff.
We're going to go into a 5-minute recess. If I can please have all the commissioners and the vice mayor come back up. Thank you. All right, we're going to take another 5-minute break because one of the commissioners still has not been able to speak to the city manager. What? we're back from recess. City Manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just in some quick discussions, there's a few things that we've pulled from the budget. At this point is the $500,000 that's listed with City Hall. The actual separate item of $425,000, which was window replacement for City Hall, the $150,000 of painting City Hall, and $100,000 that was listed under the police building, discussion of replacing that building. So the exact number, we're over $1 million some dollars that we're just removing from the budget at this time.
Go ahead, Robin, and then we'll go to the commissioners.
Going into reserves, yes.
Make a motion to approve a budget as adopted, or as presented with the removals that we just discussed.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Harriet, second by Commissioner McCool. McCool, you're also on the board. Did you want to say
Yes,
something?
I am. Thank you very much for taking care of that and then understanding that moving things that we do not need, but that we want, and that's what the discussion that we just had, that's what the city manager just discussed with us. So I'm comfortable with passing that, right? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I read the resolution?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Marcia, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I want to thank the commission for the last minute pivot, right? This was not anticipated. This was very much everybody scrambling at the last minute. We've heard, and we all got along, and I want to thank everybody for being able to come together at the last minute. So thank you, Mayor and fellow commissioners.
Thank you. Go ahead, Marcia.
Thank you. This is resolution number 2024-51, a resolution of the City of Deltona, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the final annual budget in the amount of $147,080,100 for general funds, special revenue funds, enterprise fund, and capital project funds for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, providing for an effective date.
Can we please have a verbal vote?
Commissioner Villasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Colwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
Your microphone.
Yes.
Mayor Vila?
No. We should have done that with the millage, not That's just me. Everyone, please. All right, we're going to go ahead. Guys, please. We're going to go ahead and, if it's okay with the rest of the commission, I want to bring up the consent agenda item to the front, section 10C. Request for approval of award RFP number 24027 for property and casualty insurance. Is the dais okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Flores, I can't hear you. Is the button green? Yeah. The light is green? Okay.
Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Yes.
All right. So let me try it again. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We started with the property casualty RFPs that were sent out to 473 organizations. And we received 3 proposals back. And I have a team of people here from Accentria and our risk management consultant, Ben Few, who assisted us in going out and soliciting the RFPs. We received 3 of them back, which One happened to be our current carrier. As a result of looking at all of the things that Centuria provided, we decided to go with them. And also, the reason we went out, one, had to do with the commission meeting from September 23, where you all requested an RFP as a result of the high amount from the last carrier. So we also have a total premium cost that was reduced from the $2 million plus, a little in excess of that, to $1.6 million, which resulted in an 18% decrease, or $376,000. As a result of going with the Century, we feel that there would be a much more positive business relationship. We will achieve the results of having training and development for employees to reduce internal risks that we have, and also maybe look at how we can help the citizens reduce accidents within the city. So we'll be looking to work with our citizens on that. And we'll have, we feel, a more timely response to have, excuse me, our claims paid. Any questions?
Is there any questions by the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there anything changing from what the employees are getting now, or whatever the insurance we cover now? Is anything changing with this new insurance contract? I know it's not a new insurance company, but the new contract, is anything changing?
Let me just clarify first that this is property and casualty,
right?
Correct. Okay, all right. I wanted to clarify that.
I know that.
Ms. Briones.
I made my corrections. Thank you.
Okay. And we are, in my mind, receiving with this contract far more in the way of resources that will assist us in training and development. That's one of the first things we'll do next week. We want to set some education and training where they'll come in and start to spend time with our employees from a safety standpoint.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any other questions for Commission?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, go ahead. There's a motion by Commissioner Harriet and a second by Commissioner Colwell. Is there any public comment? We kind of jumped around, so.
Brandy White, please.
That's more questions about the process, actually. We hired Ms. Johnson here because of her great, vast background, okay? She also brought in some very talented staff, recruiters even. So my question is, how much did we pay for the consultant, and why did we need one? Thank you.
That is public
Shall I
comment.
answer that question?
You can.
Yeah. When you send proposals out, you want to make sure you get a widespread submission of those proposals to as many organizations as you can, so you can make an objective decision on choosing a final organization. The consultant was used to help us get that out there.
Thank you. Can we please go to vote?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Sorry?
Vote, you said?
Are we doing verbal
We're
vote?
voting.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Colwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee? Mayor Vila?
Yes. At this time, thank you. At this time, I want to bring up Section G, which is request for approval of recognitions for the month of September. I know we had some requests for proclamations for National Senior Center Month, Italian Heritage Month, proclamation for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Is the dais okay with bringing this forward? Yes. Go ahead,
Excuse me,
Commissioner
Mayor.
Villa-Vasquez.
Point of order. In the past, when commissioners stepped out, we've waited for their vote.
I think he told me his wife was calling. It could be a personal emergency, so I don't know if he's coming back. But you are correct. If he does come back, then we'll get him on the record for his vote. Go ahead, Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, as you know, we all received the invite from the Sons and Daughters of Italy, Deltona Sons and Daughters of Italy. So if everybody's okay, to attend a dinner at their lodge in celebration of Italian Heritage Month. So if everyone is okay here, I would like that we take the proclamation and give it to them at the event instead of mailing it out.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the 3 proclamations.
I'll make a motion to approve the proclamations.
So a motion by Commissioner Harriet and a second by Commissioner McCool. Is there any public comment on the proclamations?
And that does include the presentation to them at that event.
No. All right. Can we please vote? It's not coming up here. Just do a verbal vote. It's fine.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Colwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee? Mayor Vila?
Yes. Finally, I'd like to make a proposal to table ordinances C through E, new business A, and consent A, B, and D through F for the next commission meeting scheduled for October 7th, 2024. So moved by Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Can you repeat that again?
Everything else on the agenda will be moved to October 7th. You continue to
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Villa-Vasquez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCool.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Colwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Yes.
Mayor Vila?
Yes. Meeting is adjourned.